with the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a anything but beautiful Friday afternoon. It's cold, kind of raw, and the good news is it's about to get a lot better. And by the middle of next week, we may be in the mid-70s for a couple of days. How about that? Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
A little chilly today.
We're 40 days from opening day in the bigs. And that's big.
At the college level, it's here.
Yeah, well.
It feels early.
It's ridiculous that
Everything
it starts this early.
Why are college seasons starting early? It felt like basketball started early.
Yeah, I think Billy, I don't think they've come up with an answer for what it ought to be, which is start around April 1. You know, get to your conference stuff in early to mid-June, get to your College World Series in July. They worry about what that does to Cape Cod League and that kind of stuff.
A lot of the summer leagues are just as important now. Yeah.
And so there may not be a good answer, but February the 17th for college baseball is absurd.
It just doesn't feel right.
No, well, first of all, it's colder than you know what.
And of course, right when it starts getting cold.
Yeah. I mean, look, when it's 75, baseball's fun.
Yeah.
When it's 45, it ain't fun.
Half the season, you're in frigid temps.
Yeah, and if we think we've got it bad down here, imagine what the Big Ten teams have. And you wonder how they really compete when you get to, College World Series and that kind of stuff, because they're farther behind the 8 ball than the other schools.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, you look at Minnesota, they're playing indoors in Minneapolis. Of course, I think there's got to be a few other teams that have to play indoors because, it's snowing almost every day, it feels like.
Yeah.
Whenever there's a chance of rain. So it feels like they got to have it indoor or, suffer the consequences of having a snowy field almost every day.
It doesn't make sense.
Certainly not. But George, the good thing is,
what is the good thing?
The good thing about college baseball is that you've actually got baseball. You're able to watch some sort of baseball, even though it feels early. Vandy's got a tough weekend this weekend. That's where we'll start for the update in Arlington. They got TCU here in about an hour, 3:00 first pitch. Tomorrow, Oklahoma State at 11, and then Texas on Sunday morning at 10:30.
That's good competition.
Coach Corbin's 21st year.
Yeah, hard to believe. I remember his first year.
Wow.
There's a guy named Worth Scott who hit a big 3-run homer on the final at-bat of the regular season to get them in the SEC tournament for the first time in years.
It's crazy to think about. Even after 2 national titles, that's where the program was.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I remember when I was in school, there were basically 3 metal bleachers at McGugin Field. It was McGugin Field at the time. Now, obviously, it's Hawkins Field. And
because they didn't need any more space because nobody went to the games.
I may have been the only student that ever went.
Those were probably fun.
Those were the good old days.
George, otherwise in the NFL, we've got a lot of NFL to get to. Derek Carr is visiting with the New York Jets this weekend. It'll be his second meeting with the team. George, he could be a very interesting option in New York if the Jets don't land Aaron Rodgers. Now, who knows what Aaron Rodgers does, but if they can land Carr as sort of a backup option, that would be a pretty decent pick.
Well, first of all, let me say this. At 3:00 this afternoon, our buddy Herm Edwards joins us, and we get into all of this quarterback stuff. The whole interview is about quarterbacks. So if that is of any interest to you, if you're watching this show live, make sure you're watching at 3 p.m.
Good
Herm,
stuff.
The worldwide leader,
He never misses.
He loves saying that. He's a piece of work. And today, he was really good.
Yeah, I got into a lot of the quarterbacks, of course, with Aaron Rodgers awaking from his darkness potentially soon.
So here's the deal to me. If the Jets can get Derek Carr, they need to go ahead and get him. Look, what they cannot afford is to put all of their eggs in one basket, that being Aaron Rodgers, and then he announces that he's going through phase 3 of his darkness program.
Oh,
it would serve Aaron Rodgers right if the Packers would go ahead and say, screw you, we've had enough of your diva. And then all the other teams have filled in spots. I mean, look, that's not going to happen, but he probably deserves a little bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody looks at Aaron Rodgers
a diva,
as this, the what do you say, George? The sort of the end all be all, the good.
Well, he's a great quarterback.
Yeah, but it's gotten a little weird.
Oh, it's gotten more than a little weird. I mean,
and it's been in the last 2 years. So
I think he's gotten to the point where the general public, he has no sympathy from the general public. Now, it's good for Pat McAfee. They can sit there every week and do their, their weekly, whatever this thing is. But the Packers have got to be tired of it. The fans of the Packers have got to be tired of it. And other teams have got to be a little wary of, okay, he's going to cause a lot of trouble. And frankly, a year ago, he didn't lift that team.
No, he didn't play well at all.
And in the game that mattered against the Lions,
he folded.
He wasn't great.
Yeah.
He was okay, but he wasn't great. And when you act like that, you damn well better be great.
And he can blame his receivers or the front office all he wants, but a good quarterback, an elite quarterback, lifts up his receivers. And he hasn't been doing that really the past couple of years. So we'll see what happens there. George, otherwise in the NFL, Alvin Kamara and 3 others have been indicted for an alleged beating at a Las Vegas nightclub during last week's Pro Bowl, or that's last year's Pro Bowl. So that happened last year. All 4 men were indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit battery, resulting in substantial harm. So this is still going on, still being talked about. They're finally coming upon a verdict here.
Well, first of all, the fact that he's been indicted does not mean that we're close to a verdict. Who knows?
So there's still work to be done.
Oh my God. You talk about holding a team hostage. This matter is holding the Saints hostage.
What do they do with him at this point? I mean,
I don't think, first of all, I think by the time the season starts, he will have been suspended.
So he'll be suspended, but does he
for
a
certain amount of games? I mean, I would assume it's not for the whole season.
Right.
But this is pretty serious stuff. If you read the police report, I mean, this is not, a jaywalking violation.
It's not anything to scoff at.
No.
I mean, this
was a violent act.
Yeah.
And this is really a shame. The Saints need him desperately. They also need a quarterback.
Yeah, that would help too.
Yeah.
George, baseball news. Manny Machado wants out of San Diego after this season. He reiterated that he plans to opt out of his contract that'll pay him $30 million a year after the 2023 season. And he said the management is well aware of it. He said, so far this year, I'm a Padre, but who knows next year?
I would gladly tell Manny Machado to hit the road. He's a fine player. I think he's also a little bit of a diva.
There's too much drama there.
He's a lot diva.
Seems like a common theme in today's world.
So I've got 2 stories here that that I want to read. Okay, this one's really concerning for a Braves fan. Mike Soroka has some hamstring tightness and has been kept out of early workouts as a precaution, Braves manager Brian Snitker said. Soroka last pitched in the majors in August 2020. He's trying to come back from a twice torn and 3 times surgically repaired right Achilles. Number 1, even if he weren't a Brave, I'd be rooting for him. I feel bad for him because I've got to feel that anytime he tries to throw, he's worried, what's next? I mean, he's gone through a lot. And when he was right, he was a Cy Young Award candidate. He was that good. He could be a number one when he's 100% right. But obviously that hadn't happened in 2.5 years. This is a season the Braves could use him.
You just hate it for him because he's a young player.
Yeah.
And he's got so much ahead of him, and you hope it doesn't hold him back too long. I mean, last season, that was all. I feel like we were bringing that up every week. What's the latest with Soroka?
Yeah.
So hopefully, he's able to work this out, but that's not good news at all.
Here's another story that has crossed the wire. The SEC, and I'm not talking about the Southeastern Conference, the Securities and Exchange Commission has fined NBA Hall of Famer Paul Pierce $1.4 million for touting cryptocurrency. Okay, first of all, who's kidding who? Could I explain cryptocurrency? Hell no. I have no chance.
No shot.
But I know this. If you get fined $1.4 million, it must be pretty serious.
I don't know if that's a deck chair off the Queen Mary.
Oh,
it's Paul Pierce.
It's a chunk of Queen Mary.
Yeah, that's your back deck back there.
It might be. I mean, listen, that's
kiss the pool goodbye on that.
Well, and the other thing is Tom Brady has been linked to a bunch of this
Steph
stuff.
Curry. I think Steph Curry was one of them too.
And supposedly Brady got Giselle in the middle of all this.
Ooh.
And now Gronk
is in the middle
sort of been linked a little bit. I barely even know what cryptocurrency is. I know that when I pull out a wad of cash, and these are all like ones, okay, I don't think that's cryptocurrency.
No.
Yeah.
That's the extent of your financial knowledge there.
So I see Mark Griffin already in the on-deck circle. He's ready and raring to go.
He's ready to roll.
Yeah, and I see him doing that thing he used to do when he would hit a 3 at Tennessee, and he's saying, no, don't remind people of that. Big game tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee at Kentucky. I think it's at noon.
Yeah, it's afternoon.
Okay, what do you think the line is?
That's a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very small. 3.
Who?
Tennessee?
Yeah. Okay, you already knew. Okay, so you tried to
I didn't
play
know, but I tried to remember what.
That surprised me. I thought it would be Kentucky 1.
George, there's got to be a stat somewhere, and Mark might know this. Kentucky on Saturday afternoons at Rupp Arena. I mean, it's got to be something crazy, their record there.
I know this. On Saturday afternoons at Rupp, I was 0 for whatever number it was because I was a broadcaster there 8 times. I was 0 for 8.
Wow.
Okay. You know what? I'll save this one for Mark. Auburn Vandy tomorrow night. We'll see what he thinks the line on that game is. If you are a fan of SEC basketball, you better be listening when we come back. Former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin will join us. If you have not heard him before, he's terrific. He's then followed by Herm Edwards at 3 o'clock. What I'm trying to tell you is we have a hell of a show, and you need to be watching.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. We are excited to announce that the Music City Saints baseball program will host a spring golf scramble for their Baseball with Buds scholarship program. This program is in memory of a program supporter who passed away last summer. The scholarship program ensures every kid with the ability and drive for the game of baseball gets caught up due to the cost of competitive summer baseball. Tee-off is at 8 a.m. on Saturday, March the 18th at Ted Rhodes Golf Course in Nashville. The scramble will include 18 holes of golf with a cart provided and unlimited food and drink. Registration for each 4-person team is $400. That includes drinks during the event. They will also be providing lunch for each team. They're limited to 25 teams, so sign up soon. If you can't field a full team, individual registration works also. Finally, if you're unable to take part in the golf scramble on Saturday, March the 18th, but you'd like to support the Music City Saints, you can help their program with a one-time donation. If you have or know of any businesses that would like to become sponsors of Music City Saints baseball, feel free to contact Chan with any questions or to register. The phone number is area code 270-300-4155, or you can go to musiccitybaseball24@gmail.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We're back on this Friday afternoon. Very excited to have former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin for his weekly visit to talk college basketball.
I was doing this for zero.
My IQ, huh?
No, you were talking about 0-8 and Rupp, and I was thinking, oh, man, not a lot of people come out of Rupp and win. And George, back in the day, we were 0-4, unfortunately. Yeah. One was a very close game, but others were pretty much blowouts, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mark, what is it about Rupp? Is there a mystique? Is it just the fan base? I mean, I've never been able to put my finger on it.
You know, it's a great question. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. The first thing that always came to mind when I went to Rupp was the history. I mean, you look at the banners, you try not to get caught up in it, but you do. You know, growing up, all I heard about was Kentucky basketball. And then, you know, you always knew you were going up against highly rated players. You didn't have the social media like you do today, as far as 5 stars you had back then. Street and Smith's All-America team, if you remember that, George.
Oh, sure.
And you know, you looked at Basketball Times, Basketball Weekly. Those were publications that were huge. So you knew who they were, And more than likely for me, they didn't know who we were unless it was, maybe Dyron Nix. But they were the stars. They had the history. Fans very educated in basketball. They knew your background and boisterous throughout the game, before and after. Just a tremendous experience. I would recommend anyone to try to get up to watch a game at Rupp. If you can, it's a great experience.
For me, it was always the sheer volume, number one, of 24,000 people.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of noise that gets generated in there. The second thing for me was it was always great to see Coach Newton.
Yeah.
That was always very special for me to get the chance to be with him. And you always felt like you were in the big time of college basketball, that this is the epicenter. This is, if there's anywhere that it starts, it may used to have been Madison Square Garden in the old days, but it became Rupp Arena.
No doubt. And even just the professionalism of the employees. I can remember ushers being so kind and welcoming. And now they'll tell you they're going to kick your butt while they're sitting you down.
And they did.
The kind of fans that they had with the attitude of conviction, which, has been a little changing of the guard here recently, I guess we could say, as far as the conviction, because, teams that we've seen even this year have gone into Rupp unexpectedly and won. And you never witnessed that consistently ever in Lexington. And it really gives me hope. And I'm sure that the Tennessee faithful hope that maybe they can go in there and get a victory tomorrow. But it's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough.
What did you think the line would be?
I thought, you got to look at the history and the comfort of playing in the backyard. I would have predicted Kentucky to be at least 3.5 point favorite. I don't know what it is, but that's where I would have put it. And I'm not a Vegas guy, but I would definitely have them favored by at least a 3-point shot.
Okay. Auburn at Vandy. What do you think that number is?
Auburn by 5.
3.5. Good stuff. You were in the.
I didn't look it up either. I don't know. I don't look that stuff up most of the time.
Okay, so let's get to your alma mater. Big win a couple of nights ago against the latest in a series of number one teams in the country. It's a win they really needed to sort of, recalibrate a little bit. Mark, is this a fool's gold win, or is this the start of getting back to what they were in early January?
Well, you had the 2-game skid, and not only, people can look and say, well, Vanderbilt hit a big 3-point shot and Missouri hit the 3-point shot. And everybody's focusing on one play, which were huge plays. But, Tennessee is known for their tenacity on defense. And those 2 games, for whatever reasons, they weren't as secure in their defensive mindset and outcomes. And were put in that position, unfortunately, to be beaten, and were. I think that you saw a focused team, knowing that you had Triple J, Julian Phillips out of the game, that next man up mentality had to occur. You knew that someone was going to have to do a great job on Cane Ridge's Brandon Miller, which you witnessed. You knew that the tempo was going to have to be slowed down because Alabama was 6th in the country in points per game. And even though Tennessee likes to get up and down the court, I felt that Coach Barnes and staff made a dedicated decision to slow that down and make it a possession ball game. And just the luck of even being at home with a sold-out crowd on a weeknight, George, just all came into play. Now, how does this look moving forward? I mean, they've already got enough reasons to be to have revenge against Kentucky, the way they pretty much laid an egg at home and one of their worst defeats of the season. in Knoxville, which seems like a few months ago, but not long ago, correcting those issues and errors and regrouping to see how they can take advantage of, have a competitive advantage and how they're going to go up against Shebway on the screens that, we've talked about in the past, how just they're going to game manage. So I don't know how this is going to turn out, George. I don't know which team's going to turn out. I do think it's going to be a low scoring team. So I think the defense has to be steady. But one thing you and I have talked about, George, for this team, for me to be a legitimate shot to advance in the NCAA tournament or even SEC tournament, you've got to turn around your offensive shooting woes, which have continued throughout the season. You've just been able to put a Band-Aid on it through the defense, but you've got to have somebody step up night in, night out.
Okay, in a minute, we're going to put some stuff up there that will support exactly what you're saying. But I want to ask this first. In January, this was a national title contender. Tennessee was, and a lot of people were buying into it. Have you privately said to yourself, that can't happen?
I won't say that it can't happen, but after, George, watching many games of programs that are along the same caliber ranking-wise of Tennessee, I still go back to the shooting woes that concern me. And I'll tell you why. And when you get, and you know this, but and your audience may know this too, but when you get into the tournament play, Alabama's not going to be averaging 83 points a game. The tempo is slowed down. It becomes more of a possession-by-possession game. A lot of guards actually dominate the game during the tournament because they've got the ball more, maybe outside of Edey and Purdue. But for the most part, the tempo is slowed down. So you've got to shoot a higher percentage per, when you're looking at per possession than you are just getting up and down the court, during fast breaks. That's a concern for me for this program to say, are they at that Final Four level? And I'm just being real. Now, I hope and I pray that they're consistent, but that's going to be with any team, George, is you may have a number one team. Who is number one now? I mean, let's look at Houston, for example. They're known for their defense. Well, if they have an off night shooting, I mean, in any team for that matter in the top 10, any team could get beat first round or at least the second round. So one thing that's very positive looking at this tournament coming up soon is we don't know who the favorite's going to be, because every time you hear a pundit mention, I think it's Purdue, they get beat. They mention Alabama, they get beat. Who's the next team that's going to pop up?
Houston.
That could get beat, and it's going to be Houston. And, Houston doesn't have that great schedule moving forward, but they can't afford to have a letdown as well.
Okay, Mark, let's put the graphics up there. Let's start with the offense, where you think they've got some big woes. Just in the pure shooting of the basketball, run with that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at shooting 43% from the field as an offense. And, George, I even did a deeper dive. I did look at the individual guards, and it was very unusual. I don't know the last time Tennessee had no guard or no individual guard shoot less than at least 40%. And this year, when you look at 5 of their primary guards, the highest percent shooter is at just a little bit less than 39%. And what does that tell you? That tells me that defensive teams now have learned what Michigan brought out in Vescovy is we're going to guard tightly and make players drive by. We're not going to give open shots. And you look at their 3-point shooting percentage as well being low. And that number that you see as far as 271 and 261, that's out of 363 teams. That's not where you want to be.
No.
So it's once again consistent offensive woes but made up from the defensive end. So you can flip this and look on the defensive side, and that's when you see a championship caliber team, because you look at the rebounds. Went up against Alabama, the number one rebounding team in the country, and UT had 13 offensive rebounds against Alabama, and they did get their average at 39. Alabama out-rebounded them, but it was close, and you knew going in that you had to be close to their rebounds to be able to have a chance to win. And then you look at differential, top 10, looking at points per game opponent, you're third in the nation. You're giving up 56 points a game. I mean, that's incredibly great.
It is.
And on top of that, the mainstay throughout the season as well has been a dismal 35.5% for opponents shooting when they play against Tennessee. And I'll tell you this, George, these guys on the team, they know where they stand as far as being ranked in the top 10 in 4 categories, because coaches are preaching what's working, and it has been the defensive side. Now, defense being steady, fix the offense, you got a great chance to win. If you have a bad night, you just hope one of your 5 shooters steps it up and gets hot. If you don't have anybody, step up in a big way, you're going to lose.
Can you fix an offense this late?
Whew. That's a great question. I think I do feel that offense evolves more over the season. I think and this has always been preached to me and probably most basketball players, your defense usually starts out ahead of your offense, especially at the beginning. And then you get into a groove, and through repetition and plays that are run, lots of practice, I think you can improve your offensive side dramatically. Because, basketball players, like any other athletes, a lot of it's mental. And if you can get that mental capacity to be on the upside and know that you can turn it around, and you've got to keep shooting. I mean, I read where Coach Barnes took Tyreek Key out of the game the other night because he stopped shooting. I mean, that's a great place to be in when your coach is telling you better shoot or I'm going to take you out. Because you don't see that every program, and I know I'm just focusing on Tennessee, but that's any.
No one ever said that to me.
Coach Cal's the same way. Yeah, I was told by DeVoe not to shoot. Give it to Tony White. Maybe shoot a 3 every now and again. So I know what that's like, and that's fine. But your shooters have to shoot, but they've got to be in a position, George, where they're makeable shots, and that's another thing that is going to be important, is looking at tempo. Is this Tennessee team shooting early in the offense during a fast break when it's a 3-on-1 and you're jacking up a 3? It's a bad shot. Are they shooting a 3-point early in offense when they can get a 3-point shot anytime? Because, you try to work the ball inside out, mid-range shot, not as much as used to be, but Triple J, that's his game. So you just got to look at players' roles. And you get the ball to someone who's hot and hope for the best.
Okay, after the break, we're going to ask Mark Griffin how surprised he is that Vandy, after getting beat by 57 at Alabama, has never lost since. His reaction to all of that and more. Stay tuned. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East. And their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. Okay, we'll get to Vandy's surge here in a moment as Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee star, joins us for his weekly visit. But Billy, what do you got in the old chat room?
Chat room time. We go to Ken on Facebook. He asks, or he basically says, I think offensive shooting is bad because of all the dribble drive offense that is done by everyone. I think if you look at missed layups, all teams are not great shooting teams. So he wanted to chime in there, I think, off of what Mark was talking about with the poor shooting.
Mark, take it away.
Well, I mean, he makes a great point as far as dribble drive. What the game's turned into these days is the screen and roll, and you try to force a matchup concern, but then you're kind of caught up a lot of times between stepping back for a three-point shot or shooting a mid-range, which somehow these days are a no-no. I don't understand why. I think analytics, is sometimes used a little too much as far as, compared to the what we call the eye test. But yeah, I agree that, a lot of people's percent has gone down because you're not getting, a lot of times, dribble drive as well. You're not getting your feet set. It goes back to basic fundamentals, but people sometimes too, as far as the student athletes, try to rush their shot, or they're shooting over a big and they're, shooting a shot that's really high to go in and like a push shot and not really getting a good spin on the ball. I mean, I hate to say that it comes down to fundamentals, but then every year we talk about free throw shooting not being as good as it has. Why is that? Because, people don't place, concern, or, what matters is what's measured is what matters. And a lot of times people let that go for whatever reason. But yeah, it's a big issue.
So, Mark, anybody who tells you they knew Vandy was going to go on this surge after they got their clock cleaned out at Alabama is simply lying. They've won 4 in a row. All of a sudden, tomorrow night's game against Auburn has got some real meaning to it. So you see the picture of Liam Robbins. It seems to me that one of the things that's gone on is that Stackhouse, who had been playing him in kind of weird patterns, but never in my mind enough, finally let go and said, go get him.
Man, it behooved me, as well as many of the Vanderbilt faithful that watched this kid and saw the talent. Now, we talked about his footwork's not great. Okay, fine. The kid, he's an all SEC player, is going to make a lot of money whenever he decides to go the next level, whatever level that may be. But he is your prime focus. So this coming off the bench, playing a couple minutes, resting him, was it injury related? Didn't seem like it. He wasn't hurting on the field. It wasn't like Patrick Mahomes out there grimacing. I mean, if he couldn't play, don't play him. And if he's going to play, be able to play, but give him minutes. One thing players hate is to come in a game and play a minute and a half, come out, and come in 4 minutes later, minute and a half, and come out. You've got to get some consistency, and he's earned it. I mean, he is your go-to guy. And what's amazing, George, is he still averages 23 minutes a game. I don't think it's conditioning. Looks great to me, but as long as they've got depth to replace him, which you get a little bit of depth. One thing Stackhouse has done, and you see this a lot during conference play, is shorten his bench. And is that a good thing? It's a good thing if guys don't get tired, and I think you can sustain that through the season because Vanderbilt doesn't have guys averaging 30-plus minutes a game. Most of their bigger name players that have performed are averaging in the mid-20s. So if anything, they've got extra available minutes to be given to other guys on the bench if someone was to get in foul trouble or have a bad shooting night. But it just seems to me, George, that they're really coming together as a team. And one thing, they run great stuff. And I know Tony Basilio had mentioned it. You guys have talked about it. Stackhouse runs great stuff. I think they're buying into running what may consider pro-style basketball plays. They're able to get plays for guys that are hot, able to get mismatches where even Robbins now stepping out and shooting occasional three-point. And on top of that, he's making it. So now when you got a 7-foot kid stepping out, you've got to honor that. You can't just play him inside, which forces the bigs to have to come out. So it'll be a really interesting matchup. I like their matchup against Auburn because Broom's going to have to come out and play Liam Robbins. And Broom gets in foul trouble, Auburn's in trouble. And I think that's going to be the key to me. The biggest key is not how many points Robbins scores, but how does he wear down Broom? Because Broom is a strong player. And if he can wear him down in Memorial, I think they've got a good shot. I really do.
And there aren't many tougher matchups than Colin Castleton, who he just faced and dominated. And then Tennessee's front line, Mark. I mean, he's faced the top of the SEC defensively in competition-wise. So, he may even get better, which is crazy to think about.
No doubt, it's foul trouble, which I don't see him getting in foul trouble. I don't think Stackhouse lets him because he's played so much on, he's sat so much on the bench. I think when he gets his first foul, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a foul within 4 minutes. Stackhouse doesn't sit him down for a little bit and then bring him in later because he can't afford to do that.
I'm with you. I think Vandy wins tomorrow night. I want to see what Memorial Gym looks like. If ever it's going to be the old Memorial Gym, it ought to be tomorrow night. Mark, do you see a path where they're an NCAA tournament contender, or do you think that's a little far-fetched?
I think it's a little far-fetched. I do see them in a postseason NIT. Now, anything can happen. I mean, that's the great thing about college basketball. If Vanderbilt continues to stay hot, I'm not saying they're going to win every game since they've won 4 in a row, but if they can keep that momentum going and get a good matchup in the SEC tournament, I'd mentioned before, it'd be nice for Vanderbilt not to play the first night. And to do that, you got to be 11 through 14. Well, they've worked their way out of that ranking so far. So you get hot, anything can happen. And Vanderbilt's got a lot of shooters. Now, one thing that's been mystifying to me and someone that I think's having an average season compared to what they played in the past is Jordan Wright. I mean, he is a mismatched concern. Excuse me. He's a mismatched concern.
Nice music.
Yeah, someone. Yeah. So, and he, a big guy guards him, he blows by. Smaller guy guards him, he can back him down into the lanes because he's just so strong. I'd like to see even more consistency from him, and I'm sure the coaching staff would as well. But they've made do. People have stepped up.
Well, I'd like to see him play more. I thought in the Tennessee game, he presented all kinds of matchup problems for Tennessee in the second half.
Yeah.
And I think he's a big reason they won that game.
And
Yeah,
he's
no
so
doubt.
banged up. Yeah, him and Robbins collided heads.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan got the brunt of it. And he said he didn't feel like himself until, the second half of the next game in the Tennessee game. So, I think he's still kind of sorting through a lot of that because he was hurt with a back problem at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So, but he's a guy, Mark, they've got to have step up.
Got to have. Now, if he plays consistently and Robbins is playing, and then you're getting the athletic play from Lawrence, who has really stepped it up this season. I didn't see that before the season. I don't know about you guys, but a great athlete. I love the way he carries himself on the floor. Great body language, make or miss shot. And then you've got Studi at the 3. They've got some players now. Have they upgraded to the 4 and 5-star players that we've talked about in the past? No, conversation for another day. But right now they're starting to really play well together, and I really do think they've got a great chance tomorrow since they're at home.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at this week in the SEC 1 through 14. And okay, we know that Alabama and Tennessee are the cream of the crop in the league right now, and rightfully so. This is where they are. Mark, the part I cannot get a real grasp on is 3 through 9.
Yeah.
You don't know from one night to the next what you're getting.
No, and try to be on my side trying to rank these because it's not an exact science. You do the eyeball test. I watch, pretty much every game per week. I tape games. I'm not Joe Lenardi or anything, but I just have a passion for SEC basketball. You get, for example, you get Arkansas goes on the road, loses to Mississippi State. I mean, they're home and lose to Mississippi State, even worse.
Right.
And then goes on the road and loses to Texas A&M. Both of those games are 6-point games, but it's critical because, those are 2 SEC losses in 1 week. And then it makes you think, okay, was it fool's gold a few weeks ago when Arkansas had the big win on the road, or are they just not a good road team? And you can look at that at other programs too to see, you're scratching your head of, how can they play so well one game and then so badly the next game? And it's just, it's mind boggling. And I did rank Florida lower than normal, but that's because, as you guys know, Colin Castleton's out for the season. And
bad loss.
With him out, they're going to be a first night game played and down in Bridgestone, because I don't see Florida winning many games moving forward without Colin Castleton, who's had a fantastic season, and I hate to hear about his injury.
Billy, their season has really turned.
Yeah,
because they couldn't lose him. They were up in the 40s in the net. And,
yeah, that's right.
Had kind of an outside chance, but not anymore.
Billy, let me put it this way: on the opening night, the Wednesday night 2 games, Patty Hearst can be hit in the upper deck.
There it is, Mark.
So, Mark, I don't know if you've heard this stat. Lee Fowler brought this to our attention yesterday, that this year, when teams are ranked in the top 25, when they go on the road, their winning percentage is 51%, and that is the lowest percentage since 1942.
Wow.
How about that stat?
Where did he pull that stat from?
Who knows? Well, that's what a chairman of an NCAA selection committee can do.
He's wired.
He is wired.
He is wired.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's a great stat. And man, we could pull a lot of stats, looking at these teams, and it's going to be interesting down the road. I know we'll get into more of this too, about the net ranking that you had mentioned and how that comes into play and how people look at it and maybe how the committee looks at things. It's going to be really interesting. That's why you've really got to take it one game at a time. I know that's such a cliche, but the good thing about where these student athletes are now with each program is you really cannot look past your next opponent, and your coaching staffs for all programs don't allow it. I mean, that scout comes out the next day you get home from a road trip. You're looking at scouting. They're going through plays. You're watching film. And, yeah, you're doing shooting drills and you're trying to stay, in tune, but you're not really doing a lot of conditioning because you don't want to wear down your legs. You're focused on your opponent and you're looking for things, competitive advantages that you can take advantage of to get you over the top, home or away. And away is tough. So that's why I always look at the scores, even when I'm watching around the country. If you see a score of a loss, first thing I'm like, oh, it's on the road. And it's like, oh, God, they lost at home. That's like a double whammy.
Mark, it seems to me that whatever, and I don't know what jobs are coming open yet, but there are going to be some big ones. If you're looking and you've got a good name, hasn't Chris Collins now emerged as number one on the list that you have to consider?
Ooh, what a success story, George. And it's interesting because, and you may know the history more than I with Krzyzewski, how he started off so badly with Duke and they stayed with them, during so many, years of losing back to back. Well, if you look at Chris Collins, this is his 10th season at Northwestern. And I wrote down a few things about this, George, because I'm glad you brought that up. The last time they won 20 games, he's won 20 games twice, still has a job 10 years later. And now he's just secured himself. He's going to get an extension or he's going to get moved to another program.
His NCAA tournament team beat Bryce Drew's first Vandy team.
And I think, George, we watched that game together.
We did.
Yes.
You want to plug for where we watched it?
We watched it at the Embassy Suites.
Yes. You're exactly right.
What a brutal ending that was.
Oh, gosh.
I watched it with you, and I watched you suffer. And I suffered with you because I was pulling for Vanderbilt as well. But that's the last time that they've been in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And what's even more interesting, you look at the Big Ten and how strong the Big Ten has been over the years. Northwestern, over the 10-year span that Chris Collins been there, other than the season of 2017, which they tied for 5th in the Big Ten, has never been ranked higher than 9th. That's a recipe for being fired. Doesn't have even a 500 record in coaching. And this is his first gig at Northwestern. So they've been patient with him for whatever reason. Maybe he's just great in the area, with kids and does a lot of volunteering in the community. I'm not sure.
Well, nobody else has knocked it dead there either.
No, but the way today society goes with sports, you don't wait 10 years to let someone go. I mean, think about it, when contracts come out for coaches, 4 or 5 years, well, how many has he had extended? He must have a great agent and must be really in good with the athletic director. And good for him. I think it's a great success story. Your listeners may know this, but the last 2 games, you beat number 1 Purdue, and then you turn around, which, you would think that a team may, get caught up in the win against Purdue, and then they beat Indiana like they did.
Beat them like a drum.
Oh, I think they're 19 and 7 or 18 and 7, and their net ratings of 42. So they're going to be playing the NCAA tournament again this season, which is great for the Northwestern faithful.
Mike Greenberg.
Greeny is a Northwestern grad. Okay.
And Michael Wilbon, I think, too.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay, last one, Mark. Baylor at Kansas tomorrow. Kansas at times seems really vulnerable. Give me a winner.
Well, Baylor, I don't have what their last 10 game record is, but I do know they've been one of the hottest teams in the Big 12 here lately. As you mentioned, Kansas has been up and down, and some of the games they've even won, they've struggled in their win, but you take the W and learn. I'm going to go with Baylor.
Ooh.
I just don't see Kansas as having that big guy inside that's consistent to stop their opponent. And Baylor is a banging team. That's one thing you'll see from Coach Drew. Those guys bang. And it's going to be a physical game. You're going to have great play from Jalen Wilson. Grady Dick's been very consistent. You're going to have Wilson step up. And then you're going to have a couple of other guys play, pretty consistently to slow down this Baylor team. But from my eyeball test, I'm really pleasantly surprised at what I've seen Baylor, how they've improved over this season in that tough Big 12. And I just think that I do think they'll pull off a win tomorrow. Not a betting man, but that's just my gut.
Okay.
Hey, Baylor has won 10 of their last 11 games.
Wow, there you go.
Have they really?
So,
and I think they're top 10 in the nation now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or maybe 8 or something.
Okay, Mark, as always, great stuff. Thank you so much for the visit.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
That's former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin joining us on the show with great insights into the world of college basketball. After the break, we'll get stat of the day. I'm likely to bomb. I'll tell you what I'm not going to bomb on. The Herm Edwards interview right after stat of the day. We get knee-deep into every quarterback scenario that's out there in the NFL, including what the Titans should do. You need to be listening.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
The Nashville Predators are having another of their College Night Series evenings. This one, February the 21st against the Vancouver Canucks. And guess which team it is? Yes, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alumni, students, and fans are invited to celebrate. College Night Series ticket packages include a Predator game ticket and a limited edition co-branded hat. Tickets can be purchased at NashvillePredators.com/college nights. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Final segment of this first hour. Top of the hour, Vanderbilt has just begun their season against TCU. So we'll try to keep track of that if anything else happens. Stat of the day is first, though. John English Antique Sports and Cards presents it to you every day. You can find them in Shelbyville, 204 East Depot Street, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and also Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. Again, that's 931-492-4304. All right, George, we got another NBA question.
Oh, Lord.
For stat of the day. And I think you've got a good shot at it. We go Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yes.
He passed
the Greek freak.
Yeah. He passed Paul Pressey for the most career assists in Milwaukee Bucks history. Giannis Antetokounmpo joins what player, as the only player who currently leads the franchise in points, assists, and blocks? And I'll give you a hint if you need one.
Lord. I need one.
He played for Minnesota.
Oh, well, okay. Hold on a second. Don't go anywhere. Herm Edwards, by the way, in about 2 minutes, with all the quarterback talk in the NFL you can stand.
He's not going to bail you out here, George.
No, but I'm in a four-corner stall. So if he's a Minnesota Timberwolf, the concept seems like it's Kevin Garnett. And that seems too easy. So I'm sitting there thinking, who else in Minnesota has ever amounted to anything? And I don't have it.
You can't think of anybody else.
I cannot think of anybody else. I'm going Kevin Garnett.
Okay. George, you are correct.
Well, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. The T-Wolves. Look at those jerseys.
It's a miracle. Tell you one thing. He was a stud in Minnesota.
Oh, the beginning of his career?
Came straight out of high school.
God, that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, no, but there were several. Moses Malone, Bill Willoughby, Garnett.
Garnett,
There were 3 or 4 who had some success doing it.
And Garnett, I think there isn't a single player in the NBA with his edge that he had. Now, I didn't watch much of him, of course, when he was in Minnesota, but in Boston, you didn't mess with him.
He came out as a beanpole.
Did he really?
Oh, my God. Look at him.
So
I should be so lucky. Okay, we're now officially into the second hour of the show. And as is often the case on a Friday, our buddy Herm Edwards joins us to talk football or talk any number of things. Now, right now, it's all very football related. And as you can tell today, it is nothing but quarterbacks. It is always a pleasure to say hello to Coach Herm Edwards, who joins us from out on the West Coast. Herm, I've been watching you. You've been getting up earlier this week.
Yeah, the worldwide leader. I was actually there this week. My schedule dictated that I was there for the Super Bowl, and then Monday, Tuesday. And then I took a car service Tuesday down to New York and was in the studios in New York on Wednesday. Flew back home, got home. So people won't think these jobs are like lush and all that night. Okay. Then you take the red eye home. And I got home at 2:00 in the morning on Wednesday night. And I'm going, oh boy. And Thursday, I was just trying to regroup, right? And then this morning, they had me right back at it. So it's been a lot of fun.
The worldwide leader.
Worldwide leader.
So obviously they've hit on a lot of the stuff I'm going to hit on today, which is the quarterback world. We've reached a point in football, and I don't think it was always this way, where if you don't have a quarterback, you're screwed. So let me start with this. What do you think the Bears are going to do with this number 1 pick and a quarterback that is pretty good but hasn't quite taken the big leap yet?
Well, I think that's the quandary that they find themselves in. You have a young man that has a skill set that you like, his availability, his ability to run. I've always said this about quarterbacks. System has a lot to do with the development of a quarterback. Well, obviously, this young man is similar to Jalen Hurts with his run skills. And you think about what he's done. 13 running touchdowns, over 1,100 yards rushing the ball. Now, what he has to do is improve passing the football, similar to what Jalen Hurts did this year. I think there's some pieces that have to go along with this. Offensive line, some receivers. I think that's the caveat for them. If you decide to go and move on, okay, you're gonna gain some collateral. In other words, you can pick up some players, but also where you sit having the first pick, you can also gain some players. I do think whatever decision they make, my decision would be to keep you if I was a coach. Whatever decision they make, I do know this. If you start a young quarterback, then if I'm the coach, I'm going back in there and say, well, redo my contract because I'm getting ready to start a rookie quarterback. We only won 3 games last year. You think that was hard? We're going to start a rookie quarterback. And I do believe this in Chicago. Last time I checked, they play outside. You need a big quarterback. A big quarterback. That's just my belief.
Yeah.
Because of the conditions, the wind, just all that stuff matters, man. I mean, it just does. And a lot of people say, well, it don't. Yes, it does. It does. Especially when you play outside. The weather has a lot to do with some of these quarterbacks' success or failure.
So you're giving me the Herm Edwards answer, which is this young guy over Bryce Young, or at least that's the way I've interpreted it.
I would keep him. I'm not saying Bryce Young is not going to be a great quarterback. I don't know yet. I recruited him to come out of high school. He's done some phenomenal things. He plays in the SEC. People will say, hey, man, that's a big league, but against big players. Look, I drafted Brody Crowell. Pretty good player at Alabama, but he was slight.
Yes.
Got hurt. Just, I like big guys. I just do.
So if they trade this pick, what do you believe they ought to be able to get in return?
Oh, it's depending who wants to move up to take the pick, right? You're going to get some good. You're going to get some picks. How much? This is where when you sit in that seat, you listen to people calling you. Because if somebody really wants Bryce Young, they're and saying this is we think he's our future. We think he's going to be. Some people are saying he's the next Patrick Mahomes. Well, I like when people say stuff like that because there's only one Patrick Mahomes. There's only one Michael Jordan. There's only one, God bless him, Kobe Bryant. One Magic Johnson. Remember this, one Jim Brown. There's not two. So when they compare all these athletes, I sit and I smile. I go, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. We'll see how that turns out.
But that's where shows like the one you were on this week get stuff going.
That's a debate. And everybody can have their opinion.
Yeah.
I'm entitled to mine. You're entitled to yours. But time will tell. And time is always the test.
So where do you think Lamar Jackson fits into this whole equation?
Well, he's in a situation where it's kind of interesting. A dynamic player. There's no doubt about that. I would like to see him improve as a passer. But they haven't asked him to do that a lot because this is a team that plays complementary football. This team has always been built defensively from the beginning. Good special teams, good kicker. I mean, their kicker, Tucker's kicked, he's made 142 points. Offense, if you can score in the mid-20s, you're good because the defense generally is going to keep you out of that. Lamar Jackson has been fantastic. But if you're in the room as a head coach with the GM and the owner, and Lamar Jackson is asking for Deshaun Watson's contract. There's only one contract like that in the NFL, and that was Deshaun Watson. The question they're going to throw back at you as a head coach, in the last 2 seasons, he don't finish the season. He's hurt. There lies the problem.
Yeah.
With both parties. Now, do they franchise him? I think if they do that, if I was the agent of Lamar Jackson, I'd say you ought to consider not playing. Because he already did that. He played this year trying to get a contract, right? And what happened to him? He got hurt. That was the worst thing to happen to him. He got hurt again. And when I saw that, I went, oh no, this is not good. That's the business part of it.
It's a nasty business. Real quickly, before we go to this first break,
sure.
Do you think the Ravens have already made the decision of franchising him?
You know, I don't know. I think this is a touchy situation for them. Because here's a question you got to ask yourself. I say this all the time. If you don't sign him and he doesn't sign, who are you going to get? Everybody always says, we'll get another one. Who are you going to get?
Who?
I mean, the bottom line, David Carr is going to be in demand right now. If David Carr goes to any of those teams in the NFC South, they're better. He's the best quarterback in the division. Think about that.
Yep. And by the way, his brother, David Carr, if he had any wheels left, he'd probably be out there too.
Yes.
Herm, hang with me.
Sure.
When we come back, we'll talk some more about Derek Carr. We may try to figure out what this darkness thing for Aaron Rodgers really means. And then I want to get you to play GM of the Titans and give me some thoughts on what you do to clean up this mess here.
Yeah.
More with Coach Herm Edwards when we come back. Stay tuned.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donley Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donley have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to donleytimmons.com.
Come back, Coach Herm Edwards, to our microphones. It is always a Friday treat to have him on. Today, it's all about quarterback. Where do you think Derek Carr ends up, and what do you think of him?
I like Derek Carr, and earlier I might have called him David Carr because I'm tired about him. but really, I think the Saints is a really good landing spot for Derek Carr. I do. I like Pete Carmichael. I think him as an offensive coordinator, it would be a nice transition for him. I think the head coach, Dennis Allen, would also be a good fit. And think about this. If he could go to any team in the NFC South and would probably be the best quarterback in that division. Remember,
yep,
last year they had Captain America. They were 8-9, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everyone else in the division was 7-10. So wherever he goes, go to the South. I think it's the Saints.
There are people out there, and the show you were on this week talked a lot about it. There's a growing belief that the Packers have thrown up their hands and said, we have had enough of this crap. Do you believe that?
I think it's to the point now that if you're the head coach, you're concerned in the fact that this has been a stormy romance, to say the least. In the last 3 years, it always seems that there's something that Aaron Rodgers, I'm thinking about it, might react, okay. Now he's gone to this dark room and knows what's in the dark room. And he's going to emerge from the dark room in a couple of days. And who says that all of a sudden he comes out and he says, you know what, I got to go back to the dark room. So he's kind of holding you up, right? And so I think you as an organization, you got to figure it out. He's 39 years old. Is he still a really good quarterback? Yeah. He's in the top 8 quarterbacks in the league. There's no doubt about that. Can he help your franchise? Yes, he can. But you're getting a player that has always, there's drama. There's always drama. He struggled this year with those new receivers. Wherever he goes, it's new. He's going to have to start over again. We saw that last year. He didn't carry this team last year. The defense was supposed to be better. It didn't live up to the expectations. He had a bunch of young players, a bunch of drop balls. This is the number that the quarterbacks generally have at the end of the year. 34 plus touchdowns. That's the number. That's if you just throw 2 touchdowns a game. If you got that kind of guy, you feel like, okay, walking into the ball yard, I got a quarterback. I know for sure he's scoring 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts did a little bit different. He ran for 13 touchdowns or 11 touchdowns, whatever it may have been, and then passed for the rest of them, right? So how do you get to 34 or more touchdowns scored by the quarterback?
Now to the Titans.
Remember,
what would you do with their quarterback situation?
The Titans remind me a lot of the Ravens. It's complementary football. Play good defense. They have a running back. He's going to carry it between 25 and 30 times a game. They like to steal possessions from the opponent because they wear you down. They get you into the middle of the third quarter, and now you're beat up. And then they really close the game out. A quarterback has to be efficient for them, a very efficient player that doesn't turn the ball over. But also, when they get behind, do you have a comparable quarterback that can bring you back? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Can you do that? Look, that division, you look at the division, you go, okay, who now do you think is the best team in that division? When I look at my list over here, I'm going, are the Jaguars getting ready to take another step?
They should.
And that's the team that everybody's trying to catch now is the Jaguars. The Colts are rebuilding, obviously. The Texans are rebuilding. They need quarterbacks. But Jacksonville, Jaguars are the team, in my opinion, with the quarterback that everybody's looking at now.
If you know you're moving into a new stadium in, let's say, 3 years, because it's still not official here, we think we're building a dome. We think we're going after a Super Bowl. Does that change any of your thought process about Ryan Tannehill or the quarterback situation in general here?
No, I think Ryan Tannehill is a game manager, and you can win with a game manager, right? Now, is it more difficult? Yeah, when you get in the playoffs, and that that becomes the. Who do you see in the playoffs? Well, let's look at it. You're going to see the Buffalo Bills. If Tua can stay healthy, you're going to see the Miami Dolphins. You're going to see the Cincinnati Bengals. If Lamar goes back, you're going to see the Ravens, right? Pittsburgh is starting to get better. You're going to see Kansas City. You're going to see the Chargers. Can you beat those teams in the playoffs? And you're going to have to score points. you're going to have to score at least 24 more points. You can't go in this thing saying we're going to win, we're going to beat them by, 17-10. That's not happening. The league has changed. Look at the Super Bowl. It was 38-35. And the Philadelphia Eagles had one of the best defenses in captivity. But it didn't matter. It was a scoring game. It's a scoring game. And when you have a quarterback, as I said, that can throw anywhere between 35 and more touchdowns, you walk into the ballpark knowing I have 14 points in my pocket before the scoreboard even gets lit up. Because a quarterback is going to at least give me 2 scores. Jalen Hurts, 4 touchdowns, 4 in the Super Bowl. Think about that. And lost.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll turn you into Nostradamus here or something like that. As we end this, what quarterback do you believe breaks this log jam first?
Ooh. I think Derek Carr.
To whom?
I think he's going to go to the Saints. We know Aaron Rodgers is not going to do it. He's got 3 more black rooms he has to go sit in. So he's not in a hurry. Trust me. This ain't the last of the dark room for him. You can say what you want. He's going to come out, woosah, woosah. No. He's going to go back in eventually. Right? I mean, it's just so you can't wait on him. Lamar Jackson, you're hoping, you get that thing figured out, right? I mean, so I think if it's Carr, I mean, is it the money? No, I think Carr wants a place where he's going to feel wanted. He's going to feel like I got a chance, to end my career here. And I'm on a team that has a chance to win the division, which he would have if he goes to one of those teams in the South.
I'll leave it like this. The worldwide leader is lucky to have you back.
Well, it's good to see you, my friend, and it's good we can talk about this because
Same here.
A long off season. There'll be some. We'll be talking again on another one of your shows. You go, did we see that happen? We go, no, we didn't see it happen because it's going to happen.
Wow, he's amazing.
What a guy.
He's a character.
He's one of the best.
So obviously, a lot of people are interested in what's going on with all these quarterbacks.
Real quick, though, George, TCU takes a 1-0 lead on Vanderbilt in the second.
Okay, if you're watching live. If you're not, you may already know the final score. So here's something that I've really had a change of opinion on this. This new brand of the XFL starts tomorrow, starts Saturday. Okay, if you're watching this live, if you're watching it this weekend, it started on Saturday. And first of all, I am amazed at how many networks that they have been able to get involved in this thing. And I'm not talking about Mizzlou. I'm talking about ESPN, Fox, NBC, some of the big boys.
Yeah, another thing about it too, George, I was looking up, doing some research on them, and they've got betting lines on them, on these games. I don't know that they had that last time they attempted this whole thing, but
you should not bet if you don't know the nickname.
No, but that's another aspect of this that, will intrigue a pocket of fans that like to bet.
Oh, I think it's a very small pocket because they don't know anything about it.
Right. But that's the crazy part about it. I mean, there are, I think there are enough betting people that will have interest now. It's a small level of interest.
Oh, I think it's very small.
It's the XFL, but that's another dimension of this.
I used to think this kind of thing could work. And here's why I don't anymore. Do I think that in these next 2 weekends they could get some ratings? Yes. I'll tell you why. Because around the country, the weather sucks. Okay, it's dismal, it's gray. Look outside here, gloomy. Do you like that?
I like it.
Yeah. So while the weather sucks, they've got a chance at times to get some level of audience. Once they get to March, the NCAA tournament wipes them away. People don't care about the Vipers versus the
Renegades.
Whatever. I mean, give me some nicknames there.
Las Vegas Vipers, the Guardians,
Yeah.
Roughnecks, the Renegades, the Dragons, the Battlehawks, the Brahmas.
What's a Brahma?
I have no clue.
You can't bet if you don't know what the hell the nickname is.
The Defenders. But a better question, George, do we know any of these players?
Give me the Alabama quarterback. All of a sudden, I can't think of from about 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Blake Sims?
No, that played on the NFL level after him. Was a backup in Cincinnati.
A.J. McCarron?
A.J. McCarron is a quarterback in this league, and I think for San Antonio.
Okay. Jordan Ta'amu is a quarterback, a guy who played at Ole Miss.
And that's where he belongs. That's the league he belongs in. Now, I will admit, A.J. McCarron is better than that. And lengthy story today in The Athletic, he just simply has not had enough film for anybody really to evaluate in a while. But I have come to a totally different feeling about this. I used to believe you could make it work, and I'll run through where I thought it could work, but no more, because I think by the time you get through with the NCAA tournament, the weather has started to turn in most of the country, and people are not going to sit home to watch the Brahmas. Whatever the hell a Brahma is, they're not sitting home to watch it. Now, these networks have shocked me that they would get on board with this crap. I'm amazed at the level of networks the XFL has been able to con into this.
Me too.
Because it's just simply, you look in the stands, it's empty seats. Go back and give me the cities that are part of the XFL.
Okay.
This is good dead air.
You snuck that one up on me, George.
Yeah, but go to the top there. Okay, there they all are right there.
St. Louis.
That's the one city that will kick butt in this thing, because they're out to prove a point that they got screwed when the Rams left. And by the way, they did. And shame on their city government for accepting an offer that was way below what they could have gotten. Keep going.
Arlington.
Maybe a little bit.
Seattle.
I'm not buying it. Keep going.
San Antonio.
Not buying it.
Houston.
Hell no.
Washington, D.C.
Dismal failure.
Las Vegas.
I don't think so, but what do I know?
Orlando.
Okay, here's my point. I think for a spring league, you need to be looking at cities like Birmingham, Memphis, Jackson, Mississippi, Knoxville, Tennessee, perhaps somewhere up in Kentucky.
Maybe somewhere in North Carolina, or even a South Carolina.
I'm missing
Charleston.
a couple. A Huntsville, perhaps.
Right.
My point is somewhere where you're not competing with the Seattle Seahawks. That's, to me, one of the huge mistakes they have made in this thing. Secondly, you tell me if you buy this. If you show me a game with no spectators, I turn it off.
I buy it. Yeah. I mean,
last summer, you and I went to a game at Legion Field,
and
they stuck everybody
on one side,
on the side where it was 98 million degrees. They didn't give a damn about the fans. It was simply try to show TV that there's somebody there.
And the cameras were all directed towards that side.
You can't do that. You can't treat your fan paying, even though it was $10. you can't treat your fan like that. Just so TV, you can create this mirage that there's somebody there.
What Are these networks getting anything out of this?
I don't know. I mean, they've obviously gone into some study where they say that bad football, the worst of football,
still draws,
is still better than anything else. I don't buy that.
I don't either.
My gut feeling is these are test patterns.
I agree. But George, Joel Klatt, like guys like that, they've got big time analysts calling
and
these
you
games.
know that's got to be a come down for them.
Yeah, and it's
now,
in the off
if they're making good money, they just shut up, grin, and bear it. But this cannot be what they got into this for.
No, it'll be interesting. What changes are made in this one, this go around? Are the numbers any different? Do they have any different graphics or anything that make the viewing experience better? And another thing, George, are there more people in the stands? I'm interested to see that. So that'll be
only in St. Louis, where they averaged about 28,000 a game.
Where are they playing their games there?
In the Edward Jones Dome, where the Rams played.
Still exists.
That thing's a big old white elephant. Here's the other thing. The NFL, by virtue of extending their regular season, went into mid-February. It felt too long.
Yep.
Well, if it felt too long, why is this going to feel okay?
I don't think it is. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Edward Jones Dome. It looks decrepit.
What you see, it was a very plain place. I've actually seen a game in there. It's very plain.
Just very generic.
Very plain and very red. But St. Louis is the best city in this by a mile.
I agree.
Look, others may have different opinions. Week 1 may be a false positive. But by week 3, if you think people are sitting around waiting to see the Vipers and the Brahmas, I got land in Florida for you. It's just not going to happen.
Speaking of Florida, I think Orlando, right below St. Louis, might draw.
That might be one.
Maybe just because of the weather. If you're in town visiting Orlando, go watch the Renegades and the Vipers.
I'd rethink some of these cities.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Put them in the sunshine.
We'll go to the break, and then I intend to make you some money. This just in. I did not do so last night.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Friday. Not a football Friday, though. Got a lot of basketball to get into.
Unless you include the Brahmas.
Yes, unless you're looking forward to the XFL this weekend.
If you are, there is help for you.
Help is on the way. Bet of the day. Bets of the weekend, rather, George, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night, George. And Purdue lost the third out of 4 games. They are reeling.
Yes. You know, none of these number ones feel very secure, which tells me there's a real shot something like a 7 seed wins your national title. I mean, it could happen.
That UConn year.
Yeah, it could happen.
It was a 7 seed versus like a 10 or 9 seed.
Who's to say?
I like it. I mean, obviously, George, we've talked about the product as a whole, and Tony Basilio's brought it up that it's almost been unwatchable at times. This might turn March into something just wild.
Oh, it could be insane.
I mean, you never know. Good luck to your bracket. Where are you going with this weekend?
Well, I tried to get really close to home, so let's start with the first one that's up there. Okay. I'm taking Kentucky at home, and I have been burned this year by this particular thought. When Kentucky is a dog at Rupp Arena, normally that is cash. Mm-hmm. That is, give me that and more. This will be an ugly game. There's likely to be some real pissy feelings on both sides here. Tennessee got muscled around in game 1. They walked out of Thompson Bowling not very happy. They want revenge. Kentucky, they need this game. They're sitting on the bubble. And I'm going with Kentucky. And I'm going with them on the idea that whether they win or not, they're going to cover the 3. This is going to be close.
Oh, yeah, I agree, George. And here's why. Because Tennessee just played Alabama. They're coming off an emotional roller coaster. And they dominated that game, but they beat Alabama, the number 1 team in the country. So because of that, now you've got to go on the road and beat Kentucky. That's a tough ask.
Oh, listen, this is a monster week. If Tennessee pulls this off, then all will be forgiven, it would seem to me, for what's gone on over the last 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden people start to view them again as a national title contender. You beat Alabama, number 1 in the country, and then you go to Rupp. There aren't 5 teams in the country that could do that.
No. And that's a good thing about being in the SEC, George.
Yeah,
you've got chances.
This year.
Yeah, you've got chances. Speaking of chances and a golden opportunity for Vanderbilt, they welcome in Bruce Pearl and Auburn Saturday night. I agree with you here, George.
I'm taking Vandy. First of all, I think they're going to win the game outright. Janai Broome is a transfer from Morehead State. I saw him for a couple of years.
Really good player.
He's got really good defensive skills. I'm not nearly as convinced about him on the offensive end. I don't think that he can just shut down Liam Robbins. The rest of Auburn is a schizo. God only knows what you're getting from game to game. They can shoot you in, and they can shoot you out. And I think Vandy wins the game outright.
They're playing too well.
That's what I think.
If this was Alabama or, another top 5, top 10 team, I wouldn't say that. But Auburn is sort of a borderline top 25 team, and I wouldn't say they're very excited about playing in a Memorial Gym that should be loud.
Oh, for this ought to be one of those nights where you see some Vandy people that have not been there in a while.
I mean, we've been talking about this, George. We've said, they haven't had this chance to kind of bring back the old Memorial. This is it right here. 4-game win streak, chance to make it 5 with an Auburn team coming in. This is it.
If I was Jerry Stackhouse, I would have put out the plea to the Vanderbilt fan, help us. But he hasn't done that to my knowledge.
Yeah, like a video, saying, looking forward to Saturday night. Let's pack Memorial Gym. He did tweet something out, but yeah, I think he knows he doesn't have to do much, though. I think fans feel it. So,
but they have a big student.
Oh yeah,
deal.
They carry the weight.
Yeah.
What's up next?
This one is simply a Mississippi State that is on the bubble,
sort of schizo,
but got a really good front line.
Tolu Smith.
Yeah, their front line's pretty darn good against an Ole Miss that, while this is a rivalry game, I don't know what Ole Miss has got left in the emotional tank. There's likely a coaching change at the end of the year, and I feel terrible for that. It looks like Kermit is probably out. The guy at FAU is the big rumor. I just think Mississippi State's going to win, and they're going to cover.
2.5. That's way too small.
That's what I think.
I mean, it's not like Ole Miss.
I would have made that more like 4.5 or 5.
It's not like you're walking into a snake pit.
That's Vegas going on kind of a rivalry game, but I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Last but not least, Florida at Arkansas without Colin Castleton.
Okay, Arkansas is a schizo deal as well. You don't know what you're getting out of them, but I've got to think Florida's reeling. Florida knows their season is in the toilet. Castleton was the one thing they had to hang their hat on, and now he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be there. And I think their season is headed in the toilet. And I think Arkansas wins at home and they cover.
And Arkansas is a team, George, that they're schizo, but when they're playing their best, they're a really good team.
They are a team that could sit there. What are they right now with Lenardi? About a 9 or a 10?
Yeah, I think they're a 9.
They're a 10 seed that could end up playing the second weekend because their style gives teams that aren't used to it a lot of trouble.
Yep. Musselman, I like him a lot. I think he's done a great job.
So I've gone 4 plays, all of them out of the SEC. I decided to stay close to home. I'm taking Kentucky plus the 3 at home against Tennessee at Rupp. I'm taking Vandy plus 3.5 at home against Auburn. Personally, I think Vandy wins the game outright. I'm taking Mississippi State, better front line, just a better basketball team. It is a rivalry game, but I don't know what Ole Miss has got left in the tank, and I'm taking Arkansas at home -6 against Florida because I don't think Florida's got anything left to play for.
No, I feel for them. There's after that Vandy loss, and now Castleton's down. That's a tough break.
I feel like I'm going at least 3-1.
I think you've got a good chance.
I'm confident.
I'm nervous a little bit about that 6 number for Arkansas because
it's a big number. I don't normally go that high.
But those other 3, I think those hit.
Okay, we're done. Hope you have a good weekend. Hope you have a safe weekend. Good show on Monday. Mike Organ from the Tennessean will join us, and we'll get into his just released Team of the 70s in Nashville, Middle Tennessee high school football. It will have just come out that day. And then Butch Spiriton, the soon-to-be retiring head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We'll get him to talk about the new stadium. Why is it all of a sudden deathly quiet? We're not hearing anything. What's going on there? And we'll talk another event that he's in the middle of, the late June NHL draft at Bridgestone Arena, where the way I read the tea leaves, the Predators better do well.
They need to sell.
Sure feels that way. So all of you have a great weekend. See you Monday afternoon.